In the ancient city of Chang'an, where the sun dipped low over tiled roofs and the air hummed with the chatter of merchants, a young weaver named Mei Ling sat at her loom. The year was 12 Thea 2 CE, and the Silk Road was a vibrant artery of trade stretching from the Han Empire to distant Rome. Mei Ling's fingers danced over silk threads, her shuttle gliding with the precision of a seasoned artisan. Her family's workshop, tucked in a narrow alley near the Western Market, was modest but renowned for its intricate brocades, coveted by nobles and traders alike. Yet Mei Ling harbored a dream far grander than her loom, to see her silks adorn the world beyond Chang'an's walls, carried along the fabled Silk Road to lands she could only imagine. Mei Ling's father, Wei, was a cautious man. "The Silk Road is no place for dreams," he warned, his voice rough as the hemp sacks that held their bolts of cloth. "Bandits, sandstorms, and treacherous passes. Only fools chase such paths." But Mei Ling, at 19, was no fool. She had listened to traders' tales in the market. Stories of Samarkand's golden domes, of camel caravans crossing endless dunes, of Roman patricians draped in silk finer than mist. Her heart stirred with each tale, and she wove her longing into her patterns. Phoenixes soaring over mountains, dragons curling through clouds, each thread a whisper of her ambition. One spring morning, as plum blossoms drifted through the alley, a stranger entered the workshop. He was tall, with a sun-darkened face and a beard braided in the style of the Sogdian traders from the west. His name was Kaveh, and he carried the scent of dust and saffron. "I seek the finest silk in Chang'an," he declared, his Han Chinese halting but earnest. "My caravan travels to Antioch, and I would carry your work to the markets of the Great Sea." Mei Ling's eyes widened. Antioch, a city of marble and olives, where emperors clad in purple ruled. She presented a bolt of her finest work, a crimson silk embroidered with golden lotuses, each petal shimmering like a sunrise. Kaveh's fingers traced the fabric, and he nodded. "This will fetch a fortune, but I need more, enough to fill a camel's load. Can you deliver by the next moon?" Wei hesitated, citing the cost of materials and the risk of such a venture. But Mei Ling saw her chance. "We can," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'll weave day and night." Kaveh smiled, sealing the deal with a handshake and a promise of half the payment up front. As he left, Mei Ling felt the weight of her dream take root. This was no mere order, it was her passage to the Silk Road. The days that followed were a blur of motion. Mei Ling and her younger brother, Ling, worked tirelessly, their looms clattering from dawn to midnight. Ling, only 15 but nimble-fingered, dyed threads in vats of indigo and madder, while Mei Ling wove patterns of unparalleled beauty, rivers winding through jade forests, stars bursting over deserts. Their mother, Sha, prepared meals of millet and pickled cabbage to keep their strength, though worry creased her brow. "What if this Kaveh is a cheat?" she whispered to Wei. "What if bandits take the silk?" But Mei Ling's resolve was unshakable. She saw not just profit, but a legacy. Her silks crossing continents, her name whispered in far-off bazaars. As the deadline neared, trouble brewed. A rival weaver, Master Shen, whose workshop dominated the Eastern market, caught wind of Mei Ling's deal. Shen was a man of wealth and malice, his silks prized but his heart cold. He saw Mei Ling's rise as a threat to his dominance. One night, under cover of darkness, Shen's men crept into the alley and sabotaged the family's dye vats. spilling precious pigments into the dawn revealed the loss, half their materials ruined, the order in jeopardy. Lying wept, but Mei Ling clenched her fists. We'll find a way. She bartered her mother's jade hairpin for new dyes and worked through feverish nights, her fingers bleeding from the shuttle's relentless pace. On the eve of Cavet's return, the workshop glowed with completed bolts, silks in emerald, sapphire, and amber, each a masterpiece. Mei Ling barely slept, her dreams filled with visions of caravans and distant cities. But as Cavet inspected the goods, a new challenge emerged. The emperor's tax collectors demand a heavy toll for goods leaving Chang'an. He said grimly, "Without a patron's seal, we'll lose half the profit." Mei Ling's heart sank. A patron meant a noble, and nobles rarely aided humble weavers. Yet she refused to falter. "I'll find one," she declared, though she had no plan. That night, Mei Ling slipped into the Western market, where lanterns swayed and merchants haggled over jade and spices. She approached Lady Kai, a widowed noblewoman known for her love of fine textiles. Mei Ling knelt, offering a sample of her lotus silk. "My family's future rests on this caravan," she pleaded. "Your seal could protect our goods." Lady Kai, moved by Mei Ling's passion and the silk's beauty, agreed, providing a wax-sealed letter bearing her crest. Mei Ling returned home triumphant, her dream intact. As Cavet's caravan prepared to depart, Mei Ling faced a final choice. Cavet, impressed by her skill and spirit, offered her a place in his caravan, not as a weaver, but as a merchant's apprentice. "The Silk Road is perilous," he warned, "but it rewards the bold. Will you stay, or will you see the world your silks will conquer?" Wei protested, fearing for her safety, but Mei Ling's eyes burned with resolve. She packed a small bundle, her shuttle, a bolt of silk, and a map sketched from traders' tales. With Liang's tearful embrace and her parents' reluctant blessing, she joined the caravan, her heart a drumbeat of fear and hope. The caravan wound out of Chang'an's western gate, camels laden with silk, jade, and dreams. Mei Ling looked back at the city's walls, knowing she might never return. Ahead lay the Silk Road, a path of dust and danger, but also of wonder and possibility. As the sun rose over the mountains, she clutched her shuttle and whispered, "This is only the beginning." The caravan stretched like a serpent across the Gobi's edge, where the sun scorched the earth and the wind carried whispers of forgotten travelers. Mei Ling, now a month out from Chang'an, clung to her camel's reins, her hands chapped from the desert's bite. The Silk Road was no longer a dream but a relentless reality. Days of swaying atop her beast, nights huddled by fires under a sky vast enough to swallow her courage. Cavet's caravan, 30 camels strong, bore silk, jade, and spices, guarded by a dozen men with curved swords and wary eyes. Mei Ling, the only woman among them, felt both invisible and exposed, her presence a curiosity to the grizzled traders. Dunhuang, the oasis city ahead, was their next stop, a gateway to the western deserts and a haven for merchants. Mei Ling had heard tales of its markets, where monks and traders mingled, and its caves, carved with gods and painted in colors brighter than her silks. But the road to Dunhuang was treacherous, flanked by dunes that shifted like tides and bandits who struck without warning. Cavet rode at the caravan's head, his braided beard dusted with sand, barking orders in a mix of Sogdian and Chinese. "Keep your eyes sharp," he told Mei-ling one evening, as they shared a meal of flatbread and dried apricots. "The desert hides more than it reveals." Mei-ling's role as Cave's apprentice was both thrilling and daunting. She learned to tally goods, barter in broken tongues, and read the stars for navigation. Her shuttle, tucked in her pack, was a reminder of home, but her loom was far behind. Instead, she studied the caravan's rhythm, the creak of camel saddles, the banter of traders, the weight of silk bolts that were her family's legacy. Yet she felt a pang of doubt. Had she been rash to leave Chang'an? Her parents' faces haunted her dreams, and Liang's tearful goodbye lingered like a bruise. As the caravan neared Dunhuang, the landscape softened, dunes giving way to scrub and the faint green of tamarisk trees. One dawn, as Mei-ling adjusted a silk bale, a cry shattered the quiet. "Despierdias." "Kanai," shattered the quiet, pointing to a cloud of dust on the horizon. Horsemen, cloaked in black, thundered toward them, their blades glinting like fangs. Kavezim roared commands, forming the camels into a defensive ring. Mei-ling's heart pounded as she gripped a staff. Her only weapon, the bandits struck. Kalader, a whirlwind of hooves and steel, slashing at the guards and aiming for the cargo. Mei-ling swung her staff, striking a bandit's arm, but fear clawed her throat. The guards fought fiercely, their swords clashing, until Kave's arrow felled the bandit leader. The raiders fled, leaving 2 guards wounded and a camel dead. The caravan limped into Dunhuang, battered but intact. The city was a marvel. Mud brick walls encircled bustling markets, where monks in saffron robes bartered alongside traders from Bactria and Parthia. Mei-ling's eyes drank in the sights. Stalls piled with turquoise beads, pomegranates, and scrolls of Buddhist sutras. Kave led them to an inn, where they rested and tended the wounded. Mei-ling, shaken by the attack, found solace in the market, where she traded a small silk square for a turquoise pendant, a token of her first barter. The merchant, an old woman with eyes like polished stones, smiled. "You have a trader's heart," she said, "but guard it well." Kave's plan was to sell a portion of the silk in Dunhuang and recruit new guards before pressing west. Mei-ling assisted, her confidence growing as she haggled with a Persian merchant over a bolt of her lotus silk. The man, named Bahram, offered gold coins stamped with a king's face, but his eyes lingered on Mei-ling. "A woman on the Silk Road is rare," he said, his tone probing. "Why risk such a path?" Mei-ling met his gaze. "To see my work reach the world." Bahram nodded, impressed, and paid a fair price. But later, Kave warned her, "Bahram is no friend. He trades in secrets as much as goods. Watch your words." The caravan's stay in Dunhuang stretched to a week, delayed by a sandstorm that howled like a demon. Mei-ling used the time to explore the Mogao caves, guided by a monk named Hu. The caves, carved into cliffs, were a labyrinth of art walls painted with Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and celestial dancers, their colors vivid despite centuries of dust. Hui spoke of the Silk Road as a bridge of ideas, carrying not just silk but faiths and stories. Mei-ling, inspired, sketched a cave painting, a lotus-crowned Buddha, into her journal, vowing to weave its likeness into her next silk. Trouble brewed as the caravan prepared to depart. Bahram, the Persian, approached Kaveh with an offer. Join forces for the journey to Kashgar, sharing guards and splitting profits. Kaveh refused, sensing deceit, but Bahram's smile was cold. That night, Mei Ling overheard two of Kaveh's guards whispering about a bribe gold to betray the caravan to bandits. Her pulse raced. She told Kaveh, who confronted them. One confessed, naming Bahram as the plotter. Kaveh banished the traitors, but the betrayal left the caravan short-handed. We need allies, Kaveh muttered, his trust shaken. Mei Ling proposed a bold solution. Recruit from Dunhuang's monastery. Monks, trained in discipline and loyal to their faith, could serve as guards. Kaveh, skeptical but desperate, agreed. Mei Ling and Hui negotiated with the monastery's abbot, offering silk for the temple in exchange for 5 warrior monks. The abbot, moved by Mei Ling's sincerity, sent his finest men skilled in staff and fist, their shaved heads gleaming. With the monks aboard, the caravan felt stronger, though Mei Ling sensed Bahram's eyes on them as they left Dunhuang's gates. The road to Kashgar lay through the Taklamakan Desert, a wasteland of shifting sands and merciless heat. Mei Ling rode beside a monk named Shen, who taught her a Buddhist chant to calm her fears. As dunes rose like waves, she clutched her turquoise pendant, her dream of the Silk Road now tempered by its dangers. Yet each step westward fueled her resolve. Her silks, her family's pride, were bound for distant lands, and she would see them through. But whispers of Bahram's caravan, trailing just behind, hinted at trouble yet to come. The Taklamakan Desert stretched before the caravan like an ocean of sand, its dunes rising and falling under a merciless sun. Mei Ling, now 3 months from Chang'an, had grown leaner, her skin bronzed by the desert's glare. The caravan, bolstered by the warrior monks from Dunhuang, moved with cautious rhythm, camels grunting under their loads of silk, jade, and spices. Kaveh, ever vigilant, rode ahead, his eyes scanning the horizon for signs of Bahram's caravan, which trailed them like a shadow. Mei Ling, clutching her turquoise pendant, felt the weight of the Silk Road's dangers, but also its pull. Each step westward drew her closer to the markets of Samarkand and beyond. Kashgar, their next destination, was a crossroads of the Silk Road, where traders from China, Persia, and India bartered under the shadow of the Pamir Mountains. Mei Ling had heard of its bazaars, fragrant with cumin and alive with tongues she could not name. But the Taklamakan was a crucible, its heat sapping strength and its sands hiding perils. One night, as the caravan camped beside a dry riverbed, a sandstorm struck, a howling beast that buried tents and scattered supplies. Mei Ling huddled with Shen, the monk, chanting his Buddhist mantra as the wind screamed. Dawn revealed a battered caravan, 2 camels lame, a guard's arm broken, and precious water skins torn. Kaveh's face was grim. "We press on," he said. "Kashgar's wells are our salvation." Mei Ling's role as Kaveh's apprentice grew more demanding. She tallied losses, redistributed loads, and learned to spot oases by the flight of birds. Her shuttle, a relic of her weaver's life, remained unused, but she sketched patterns in her journal, swirling sands, jagged peaks, dreaming of silks that captured the desert's soul. Shen, her closest ally, shared stories of his monastery, where monks copied sutras by lamplight. "The Silk Road carries more than goods," he said. "It carries wisdom." Mei Ling nodded, her heart stirred by the idea that her silks might one day adorn a temple or a palace, weaving her story into the world's tapestry. As the caravan neared Kashgar, the desert gave way to rocky plains and the distant silhouette of mountains. One evening, as Mei Ling tended a camel, a scout returned, his face ashen. "Bahram's men," he gasped. "They've cut the northern pass, forcing us toward the Fire Valley." Kaveh cursed. The Fire Valley, named for its blazing heat and treacherous cliffs, was a death trap for caravans. But with Bahram blocking the safer route, they had no choice. Mei Ling's stomach knotted. Was Bahram merely a rival, or something darker? A predator stalking their cargo? The Fire Valley was a furnace, its red cliffs trapping heat like a dragon's breath. The caravan moved single file, camels slipping on loose. Mei Ling rode beside Shen, her eyes stinging from dust. Midway through, disaster struck. A rock slide, triggered by unseen hands, sent boulders crashing down. A camel fell, crushing a bale of silk, and a guard was pinned, his leg broken. Kaveh rallied the monks, who cleared the debris with disciplined strength. But Mei Ling saw movement on the cliffs. Shadows of men, Bahram's scouts. "They're hurting us," she whispered to Kaveh. He nodded, his jaw tight. "We'll face them in Kashgar." The caravan emerged from the valley, battered but alive, and reached Kashgar's gates at dusk. The city was a riot of color and sound. Minarets pierced the sky, and markets buzzed with traders in turbans and furs. Mei Ling marveled at stalls laden with saffron, lapis lazuli, and Indian cottons, their dyes rivaling her silks. Kaveh secured a caravanserai, a fortified inn where the caravan could rest. Mei Ling, tasked with selling silk, entered the bazaar with a bolt of her lotus design. A Uyghur merchant, Aisha, offered silver for it, a fort of her lotus design. A Uyghur merchant, Aisha, offered silver for it, her keen eyes assessing Mei Ling. "You're no ordinary trader," Aisha said. "Your silk tells a story." Mei Ling smiled, bartering for a fair price and a map of the Pamir passes, her confidence growing. But Kashgar was no sanctuary. Bahram's caravan arrived a day later, his men swaggering through the bazaar. Mei Ling overheard them boasting of ambushes planned beyond the mountains. She reported this to Kaveh, who convened the caravan's leaders. "Bahram wants our silk," he said. "He'll strike when we're weakest." The monks suggested a trap. Lure Bahram's men into a narrow pass and outmaneuver them. Mei Ling, emboldened, proposed a deception: use decoy bales filled with sand to distract the bandits. Kaveh agreed, and Mei Ling spent a night sewing false silk covers, her needle flashing by lamplight. The caravan's departure was tense. Mei Ling rode with Shen, her heart pounding as they entered the Pamir foothills. Bahram's men attacked at dawn, a swarm of horsemen aiming for the decoy bales. The monks sprang the trap, their staffs a blur, while Kaveh's archers fired from the cliffs. The bandits, realizing the bales were worthless, fled, but not before Mei Ling recognized Bahram himself, his face twisted with rage. The victory was costly. A monk wounded, 3 camels lost. Kaveh praised Mei Ling's cunning, but she felt no triumph. Bahram's vendetta was personal now, and the Silk Road stretched on, unforgiving. In Kashgar, Mei Ling visited a mosque, its tiles gleaming like her silks. Aisha, the merchant, found her there, offering tea and advice. "The Silk Road tests the soul," she said. "Trust your heart, but sharpen your wits." Mei Ling nodded, her turquoise pendant warm against her chest. As the caravan prepared for Samarkand, she sketched a new pattern, a phoenix rising from flames, a symbol of her resilience. But Bahram's shadow loomed, and the mountains ahead promised new trials. The Pamir Mountains loomed like the spine of the world, their peaks clawing at the sky as Kave's caravan wound through narrow passes. Mei Ling, now 4 months from Chang'an, felt the air thin, each breath a labor under the weight of her furs. The Silk Road had hardened her, her hands bore calluses, her eyes a sharper glint, but the mountains tested her resolve. The caravan, reduced by losses in Kashgar, moved warily, its camels laden with silk and jade, guarded by the warrior monks and Kave's loyal men. Bahram's defeat in the foothills had bought them time, but Mei Ling sensed his presence, a specter trailing their steps. Samarkand, the jewel of the Silk Road, lay beyond the mountains, its markets famed for gold and glass. Mei Ling dreamed of its domes, shimmering like her silks, but the Pamirs were a gauntlet of ice and stone. The Pass of Shadows, their chosen route, was a treacherous cleft where winds howled and avalanches waited. Kave, his beard frosted by morning dew, warned the caravan, "Stay close, one misstep, and the mountains claim you." Mei Ling, riding beside Shen, clutched her turquoise pendant, its weight a tether to her purpose. Her journal brimmed with sketches, phoenixes, lotuses, now jagged peaks, each a promise to weave the Silk Road's story. The pass lived up to its name. Shadows clung to the cliffs, and the trail narrowed until camels brushed against sheer drops. One evening, as the caravan camped in a hollow, a scout reported tracks, fresh, human, circling their path. Param's men, Kavev growled, his hand on his sword. Mei Ling's heart raced. The monks, led by Shen, scouted the cliffs, their staffs ready, but found only footprints vanishing into snow. The uncertainty gnawed at her. Was Bahram planning another ambush, or was he toying with their fears? Kavev doubled the night watch, and Mei Ling slept fitfully, dreaming of wolves with human eyes. Midway through the pass, disaster struck. A blizzard swept in, a white fury that blinded the caravan and buried the trail. Camels bellowed, their loads slipping, and a guard vanished, swallowed by the storm. Mei Ling tied a rope to Shen, their hands numb as they secured the silk bales. Kavev, shouting over the wind, led them to a cave, its mouth barely wide enough for the camels. Inside, the caravan huddled, the monks chanting to steady their spirits. Mei Ling, shivering, checked the silk, her family's legacy. Finding one bolt torn by ice, her chest tightened, but she pushed the fear aside, helping Shen tend the wounded. The storm raged for 2 days, sealing the cave with snow. Kavev rationed food, barley cakes, and dried meat while Mei Ling tallied their losses. 2 camels dead, a guard frostbitten. In the dim light, she shared her journal with Shen, showing him her phoenix sketch. "It's you," he said, his voice calm, rising from hardship. Mei Ling smiled, her resolve kindled. When the storm broke, the caravan dug out, emerging to a world of blinding white. But the Pass of Shadows held one more trial. As they descended, an avalanche roared, triggered by unseen hands. Mei Ling dove behind a boulder, Shen shielding her. As rocks thundered past, a camel fell, its load of jade shattered. But the silk survived. The caravan reached the Pamir's foothills, battered but alive. Samarkand's plains glimmered in the distance, a promise of rest. Kavev praised Mei Ling's courage, but she saw the toll on his face, lines deeper, eyes haunted. At camp, she overheard him with the monks, debating a detour to avoid Bahram's next strike. Mei Ling, emboldened, suggested a bold plan: disguise the caravan as pilgrims, cloaking the silk in plain cloth, and joining a Buddhist procession to Samarkand. Mei Ling, Bahram seeks traders, not monks, she argued. Kavev, after a long pause, agreed, and Mei Ling sewed coarse covers for the bales, her needle steady despite her fatigue. Samarkand's gates welcomed the pilgrims with fanfare. The city was a marvel. Golden domes caught the sun, and bazaars pulsed with traders from Sogadaya, Persia, and beyond. Mei Ling, draped in a monk's robe, felt a thrill as they passed unnoticed. At a caravanserai, they shed their disguise, and Mei Ling entered the market with her lotus silk. Sogadayan trader, Zara, offered gold and amber for it, her accent thick but warm. This silk sings, Zara said. Who wove it? Mei Ling hesitated, then replied, a weaver from Chang'an, chasing a dream. Zara's smile was knowing, and she gifted Mei Ling a glass vial, its hues shifting like the desert. But Samarkand was not safe. Bahram's spies roamed the bazaars, and Mei Ling spotted one trailing her. She warned Kavev, who tightened security, but the threat grew. One night, a fire broke out in the caravanserai's stables, a deliberate act that spooked the camels and nearly reached the silk. The monks doused the flames, but Mei Ling found a dagger in the ashes, its hilt marked with Bahram's crest. He's here, she whispered to Shen. Kavev, furious, planned to confront Bahram in the market, but Mei Ling urged caution. He wants us to chase him, she said. Let's outsmart him. Mei Ling devised a ruse. Leak false plans of a midnight departure, luring Bahram's men to an empty road. The caravan would leave at dawn, slipping through a southern gate. Kavev approved, and Mei Ling spread the lie through a trusted merchant. The plan worked. Bahram's men ambushed an empty pass, while the caravan reached the plains. But Mei Ling's triumph was fleeting. A scout reported Bahram's caravan regrouping, larger now, with hired nomads. The road to Bukhara, their next stop, promised blood. In Samarkand, Mei Ling visited a Zoroastrian temple, its fire altar glowing like her resolve. Zora found her there, offering wine and wisdom. The Silk Road is a game of trust and betrayal, she said. Choose your allies well. Mei Ling nodded, her phoenix sketch burning in her mind. As the caravan prepared for Bukhara, she added a new pattern to her journal. A flame-crowned mountain, a symbol of her defiance. But Bahram's dagger haunted her. A reminder that the Silk Road's shadows were far from vanquished. The road to Bukhara wound through the Sogdian plains, where poplar trees swayed like sentinels and rivers glinted under a cloudless sky. Mei Ling, now 5 months from Chang'an, felt the Silk Road's rhythm in her bones. The creak of camel saddles, the murmur of monks' chants, the weight of silk bales that carried her family's dreams. Kave's caravan, leaner after the Pamirs, pressed on with grim determination, its warriors sharpened by battles and betrayals. Bahram's shadow loomed larger, his nomad allies a whispered threat in every village. Mi Ling, her turquoise pendant warm against her chest, rode with Shen, her eyes scanning the horizon for danger. Bukhara, a city of scholars and spices, was their next haven, its minarets and madrasas famed across the Silk Road. Mi Ling imagined its markets, where poets bartered verses for saffron and astronomers traded star charts for silk. But the plains were no sanctuary. Bandit tribes, emboldened by Bahram's gold, roamed the steppes, and Kave's scouts reported fresh tracks daily. "He's closing in," Kaveh muttered, his beard streaked with dust. Mi Ling, now a trusted voice, suggested splitting the caravan into two groups, one with decoy bales, the other with the silk, to confuse their pursuers. Kaveh nodded, assigning Shen and the monks to guard the silk, while Mi Ling rode with the decoys, her heart pounding at the gamble. The plan held until dusk, when hooves thundered across the plains. Nomads, their faces painted with ochre, struck the decoy group, arrows hissing like vipers. Mi Ling, gripping her staff, stood with Kaveh's guards as they repelled the attack, their swords flashing in the fading light. The nomads retreated, but not before slashing a tent, revealing the sand-filled bales. Mi Ling's ruse had worked, but the cost was high. A guard dead, another wounded. At camp, Kaveh's relief was tempered by worry. Bahram will know the silk is with the other group, he said. Mi Ling, guilt gnawing at her, vowed to protect the cargo, her family's legacy now a beacon and a burden. Bukhara's walls rose like a mirage, their mud bricks glowing in the sunrise. City was a tapestry of cultures. Persian traders haggled beside Turkish horse dealers, while scholars debated in shaded courtyards. Mi Ling, entering the bazaar with her lotus silk, felt a surge of pride. A Jewish merchant, Eliyahu, offered silver and a Torah scroll for the bolt, his eyes kind but shrewd. "This silk could grace a synagogue," he said. Mi Ling, moved, bartered for a fair price and a quill, its feather soft as her dreams. She sketched a new pattern in her journal. A starlit river, inspired by Bukhara's canals, vowing to weave it one day. Suburbs. But danger festered in Bukhara's heart. Bahram's caravan arrived, his men blending into the crowds. Mi Ling spotted one in the bazaar, his dagger bearing Bahram's crest. She warned Kaveh, who tightened security, but the true threat came from within. One of Kaveh's guards, a quiet man named Reza, had been seen with Bahram's spies. Mi Ling, overhearing Reza's whispered plans to sabotage the silk, confronted him in the caravanserai. "Why betray us?" she demanded, her voice steady despite her fear. Reza, cornered, but sneered. "Bahram pays better than Kaveh's promises." Before she could act, Reza fled into the night, leaving a warning scrawled in charcoal. "The silk burns at midnight." Kaveh, enraged, rallied the monks and guards, but Mi Ling sensed a trap. "Bahram wants us to guard the silk while he strikes elsewhere," she said. She proposed a counterplan. Move the silk to a trusted merchant's vault, then stage a false fire to lure Bahram's men. Kaveh, trusting her instincts, Agreed. Mei Ling enlisted Ilayayu, who hid the silk in his cellar, while she and Shen piled straw in the caravanserai, dousing it with lamp oil. At midnight, they lit the straw, flames roaring as Bahram's men charged, expecting easy plunder. The monks ambushed them, their staffs a blur, while Kave's archers fired from the roofs. The attackers fled, but Reza was captured, his confession exposing Bahram's network in Bukhara. The victory was bittersweet. The caravanserai was scorched, and a monk was wounded. Mei Ling, haunted by Reza's betrayal, questioned her trust in others. Shen, tending her doubts, shared a Buddhist tale of a lotus rising from mud. Betrayal is the mud, he said. Your heart is the lotus. Mei Ling nodded, her resolve renewed. She visited Bukhara's great library, its scrolls a labyrinth of knowledge. Ilayayu found her there, offering tea and a warning. Bahram's reach is long, he said. He'll strike again before Merv. Mei Ling thanked him, her phoenix sketch a talisman against fear. As the caravan prepared for Merv, Mei Ling bartered for horses, their speed vital for the desert ahead. She added a new pattern to her journal, a lotus blooming under stars, a symbol of her growth. But Reza's warning echoed, and Bahram's nomads were massing. The Silk Road, a path of dreams, was also a battlefield, and Mei Ling's silk, her family's pride, was its prize. The road to Merv shimmered with heat, a ribbon of dust, stretching across the Karakum desert. Mei Ling, now 6 months from Chang'an, rode with a steadier hand, her body attuned to the caravan's sway. The Silk Road had carved her into something new. Her shoulders bore the strength of survival, her eyes the wisdom of betrayal. Kave's caravan, scarred by Bukhara's treachery, moved swiftly, its horses and camels, driven by the need to outpace Bahram's nomads. The silk, Mei Ling's family legacy, remained safe, but each mile westward heightened the stakes. She clutched her turquoise pendant, its coolness a reminder of Dunhuang, and sketched in her journal, a lotus, under stars, a symbol of hope, amid peril. Merv, the ancient oasis city, was their next refuge, its green fields and towering walls a beacon in the desert. Mei Ling had heard tales of its libraries, where Greek and Persian scrolls mingled, and its markets, where silk fetched prices to rival gold. But the Karakum was unforgiving, its sands hiding scorpions and its nights cold as iron. Kaves, his face etched with worry, drilled the caravan nightly, monks sharpening staffs, guards checking bows. Bahram's nomads are close, he warned Mei Ling. They'll strike before Merv's gates. She nodded, her mind racing for strategies, her trust shaken by Reza's betrayal. One dawn, as the caravan crossed a dry wadi, danger struck. Nomads, their horses draped in felt, swept down like hawks, their war cries chilling the air. Mei Ling, riding with Shen, gripped her staff as Kaveh formed a defensive ring. The monks fought with disciplined fury, their staffs cracking against nomad blades, while Kaveh's archers loosed arrows. Mei Ling swung her staff, fending off a rider, but a stray arrow grazed her arm, blood seeping through her sleeve. Shen pulled her to safety, and the nomads retreated, driven off by the monk's resolve. The cost was heavy, a horse dead, 2 guards wounded, and a bale of silk slashed. Mei Ling, bandaging her arm, felt guilt. She had not foreseen the attack's ferocity. Merv's walls rose like a fortress, its canals reflecting minarets and cypress trees. The city was a crossroads of empires, Parthian traders bartered beside Chinese exiles, while Nestorian priests chanted in domed churches. Mei-ling, entering the bazaar with her lotus silk, felt a surge of purpose. A Parthian merchant, Roxana, offered gold and a coral ring for the bolt, her voice warm but probing. "A woman trader is rare," she said. "What drives you?" Mei-ling replied, "To see my silk reach the world's edges." Roxana nodded, gifting her a parchment map of the road to Nishapur. Its ink faded but precious. But Merv was a nest of intrigue. Bahram's caravan arrived, his men slipping into the city like snakes. Mei-ling spotted one in the market, his cloak hiding a dagger with Bahram's crest. She warned Kaveh, who doubled the silk's guard, but a new threat emerged. A local official, Governor Darius, demanded a bribe to let the caravan depart, his eyes greedy for the silk. Kaveh refused, but Darius's men shadowed the caravanserai, their presence a silent threat. Mei-ling, sensing a link to Bahram, investigated, slipping into Merv's wine shops to eavesdrop. She overheard a guard mention a meeting between Darius and Bahram, plotting to seize the silk under guise of a tax raid. Mei-ling shared her findings with Kaveh, who cursed their luck. "We can't fight a governor," he said. She proposed a daring plan. Bribe Darius with a single silk bolt, laced with a false rumor that the caravan was bankrupt, to throw Bahram off their trail. Kaveh hesitated, but Shen backed her, citing a Buddhist proverb, "Truth bends like a reed, but does not break." Mei-ling delivered the silk to Darius, her words carefully spun. "Our caravan is ruined. This is our last treasure." Darius, smug, accepted the bribe, and word spread, reaching Bahram's spies. The ruse bought time, but Mei-ling knew Bahram would soon see through it. In Merv, Mei-ling visited a Nestorian church, its mosaics glowing like her silks. Roxana found her there, offering bread and advice. "The Silk Road rewards the cunning," she said, "but beware. Bahram's greed blinds him to honor." Mei-ling nodded, her phoenix sketch a shield against doubt. She bartered for fresh horses and water skins, preparing for Nishapur's deserts. Her journal grew with a new pattern, a coral reef under moonlight, inspired by Roxana's ring, a testament to her resilience. As the caravan left Merv, Mei-ling rode with Shen, her arm healed but scarred. The desert stretched ahead, and Bahram's nomads were regrouping, their tracks fresh in the sand. Kaveh praised her cunning, but Mei-ling felt the Silk Road's weight, each victory a step closer to Antioch, each betrayal a wound. She sketched her lotus under stars, whispering, "For Chang'an, for my family." But Bahram's dagger, a specter in her mind, promised a reckoning before Nishapur. The road to Nishapur snaked through the parched hills of Khorasan, where the sun burned the earth to ash and the wind carried the scent of sage. Mei-ling, now 7 months from Chang'an, had become a creature of the Silk Road, her hands steady on the reins, her gaze sharp as Alu falcons. Kaveh's caravan, tempered by Merv's trials, moved with lean efficiency, its horses and camels bearing silk, jade, and the weight of survival. Mei-ling, Vejinerju, Bahram's nomads, though bloodied, still stalked them, their tracks a constant warning. Mei-ling, her turquoise pendant, a talisman against fear, rode beside Shen, her journal heavy with sketches, coral reefs, lotuses, now barren hills, each a thread in her dream to weave the world's story. Nishapur, a city of turquoise mines and poets, was their next sanctuary, its bazaars famed for carpets and its scholars for starlit debates. Mei Ling imagined its turquoise domes, their hue matching her pendant. But the road was a crucible. Dust storms blinded the caravan, and water skins dwindled, forcing Kaveh to ration sips. Mei Ling, Bahram's men will strike when we're weakest, he told Mei Ling, his voice hoarse. She nodded, her mind crafting plans, her heart scarred by Reza's betrayal and Darius's greed. Shen, sensing her tension, taught her a new chant, its rhythm steadying her pulse. The road tests us, he said, but it also reveals who we are. One twilight, as the caravan camped in a rocky gully, a mirage shimmered, a lake, its waters impossibly blue. The guards, parched, urged Kaveh to detour, but Mei Ling, wary, climbed a ridge with Shen. From above, she saw no water, only sand. It's a trick, she said, pointing to the horizon. A mirage, meant to lure us. Kaveh, trusting her, rallied the caravan, avoiding the trap. But the mirage was no accident. Fresh hoofprints circled the gully. Bahram's nomads at work. Mei Ling's heart raced. They're driving us to exhaustion, she told Kaveh. He nodded, his face grim. We'll make them pay in Neshapur. The approach to Neshapur was fraught. A sandstorm struck, its howl drowning out the monks' chants. Mei Ling tied a cloth over her face, securing silk bales as camels staggered. A guard fell, his leg twisted, and a water skin burst, soaking the sand. Shen helped Mei Ling tend the wounded, his calm a lifeline. When the storm cleared, Neshapur's walls gleamed, its turquoise domes a balm to weary eyes. The city was a poet's dream. Minarets soared, and markets brimmed with saffron, carpets, and lapis lazuli. Mei Ling, entering the bazaar with her lotus silk, felt her purpose reignite. A Turkmen merchant, Gulnar, offered gold and a woven belt for the bolt, her eyes sharp but kind. This silk is art, she said. Mei Ling bartered for a fair price and a turquoise bead, its hue echoing her pendant. But Neshapur was a web of danger. Bahram's nomads had infiltrated the city, their cloaks hiding daggers with his crest. Mei Ling spotted one trailing her in the market, his gaze cold. She warned Kaveh, who fortified the caravanserai. But a new threat loomed. A local poet, Farid, approached Mei Ling, claiming to know Bahram's plans. He'll strike at the turquoise gate, Farid whispered, his quill trembling. Mei Ling, wary of another Reza, pressed him for proof. Farid showed a stolen letter, its seal Bahram's, detailing an ambush. Kaveh, convinced, planned a counter-strike, but Mei Ling sensed a deeper game. Farid could be Bahram's pawn, she said. Kaveh agreed, deciding to test the poet. Mei Ling devised a trap, leak false plans of a silk transfer at dawn, luring Bahram's men to the turquoise gate. The caravan would move at midnight, slipping through a lesser gate. She and Shen spread the ruse through Gulnar, who played her part. At dawn, Bahram's nomads attacked the empty gate, finding only monks' staffs and Kaveh's arrows. The caravan, safe, reached the hills, but Farid vanished, his loyalty unclear. Mei Ling's triumph was shadowed by doubt. Had she outsmarted Bahram, or played into his hands? In Nishapur, Mei Ling visited a Sufi shrine, its tiles shimmering like her silks. Gulnar found her there, offering rosewater and wisdom. The Silk Road is a dance of truth and lies, she said. Trust your heart, but question all. Mi Ling nodded, her phoenix sketch of flame in her mind. She bartered for fresh horses and a star chart, preparing for Ray's plains. Her journal grew with a new pattern. Turquoise waves under moonlight, a nod to Nishapur's mines. But Bahram's letter haunted her, its words a promise of vengeance before Ray. The road to Ray stretched across the Persian plains, where golden grass swayed under a sky vast as the sea. Mi Ling, 8 months from Chang'an, had been forged by the Silk Road into a figure of resilience, her hands calloused from rains, her heart tempered by deceit. Kave's caravan, leaner yet fiercer, moved with urgency, its horses and camels bearing the precious silk that was Mi Ling's legacy. Bahram's nomads, though thwarted in Nishapur, were relentless, their shadows flickering in every dust cloud. Mi Ling, her turquoise pendant a steady anchor, rode beside Shen, her journal now a tapestry of dreams. Turquoise waves, phoenixes, lotuses, each sketch a vow to reach Antioch. Ray, a city of artisans and orchards, was their next haven, its kilns famed bids for ceramics and its markets for frankincense. Mi Ling envisioned its clay rooftops, but the plains were a battlefield. Bandit tribes, spurred by Bahram's gold, harried travelers, and Kave's scouts reported ambushes ahead. He's tightening the noose, Kave told Mi Ling, his eyes weary. She suggested a night march to evade the bandits, cloaking the caravan's lanterns. Kaved agreed, and under a moonless sky, they moved, the monk's chants a whisper against the wind. Mi Ling's heart pounded, but her plan held. No bandits struck, and dawn revealed Ray's walls, their bricks glowing like embers. City was a mosaic of life. Zoroastrian priests tended fire altars, while merchants bartered silk for pistachios and glazed pots. Mi Ling, entering the bazaar with her lotus silk, felt a surge of pride. A Persian trader, Soraya, offered silver and a ceramic bowl for the bolt, her voice soft but keen. This silk could drape a king's hall, she said. Mi Ling bartered for a fair price and a vial of rose oil. It sent a balm for her scars. She sketched a new pattern in her journal, a flame-wreathed orchard, inspired by Ray's gardens, vowing to weave it when her journey allowed. But Ray was no sanctuary. Bahram's men had infiltrated the city, their daggers marked with his crest. Mi Ling spotted one in the market, his eyes tracking her. She warned Kaveh, who fortified the caravanserai. But a new threat emerged. A local guild master, Kamran, demanded a toll for the caravan's passage, his greed echoing Darius in Kaveh refused, but Kamran's thugs loomed, their clubs a silent promise. Mi Ling, suspecting Bahram's hand, slipped into Ray's taverns, eavesdropping on whispers. She learned Kamran was Bahram's ally, planning to seize the silk during a staged riot. Mi Ling shared her discovery with Kaveh, who cursed their fortune. "We can't fight a guild," he said. She proposed a ruse. Offer Kamran a decoy bale, filled with dyed cotton, while spreading a rumor that the caravan was splitting to confuse Bahram. Shen backed her, citing a Buddhist maxim, "A lie for truth's sake is no sin." Foilan delivered the decoy to Kamran, her words laced with feigned despair. "This is all we have left." Kamran, smug, accepted, and the rumor spread, sowing chaos among Bahram's spies. The caravan prepared to slip out at dawn, but Mei Ling sensed a trap. Kamran's men were massing. she devised a counterplan, stage a false departure, luring Qumran's thugs to the northern gate. While the caravan exited south, she and Shen leaked the plan through Soraya, who played her role. At midnight, Qumran's men stormed the northern gate, finding only empty carts. The caravan, safe, reached the plains, but a scout reported Bahram's nomads closing in, their numbers swollen. Mei Ling's triumph was fleeting. Bahram's reach was a noose, and Rei's plains promised blood. In Rei, Mei Ling visited a fire temple, its flames dancing like her resolve. Soraya found her there, offering figs and counsel. "The Silk Road is a chessboard," she said. "Move wisely, or lose all." Mei Ling nodded, her phoenix sketch a beacon. She bartered for fresh horses and a leather map, preparing for Baghdad's rivers. Her journal grew with a new pattern, roses under firelight, a nod to Rei's kilns. But Qumran's betrayal lingered, and Bahram's nomads were near. The Silk Road, a path of dreams, was a gauntlet, and Mei Ling's silk, her family's pride, was its heart. The road to Baghdad traced the Tigris River, its waters glinting like molten silver under a sky streaked with dusk. Mei Ling, 9 months from Chang'an, was a daughter of the Silk Road, her hands scarred from battles, her spirit forged in betrayal's fire. Kavaz's caravan, now a shadow of its former strength, pressed on with dogged resolve, its horses and camels bearing the silk that was Mei Ling's legacy. Bahram's nomads, relentless as wolves, trailed them, their tracks fresh in the river's mud. Mei Ling, her turquoise pendant heavy with memory, rode beside Shen, her journal a chronicle of survival. Roses, phoenixes, turquoise waves, each sketch a vow to see her silk reach Antioch. Baghdad, the city of caliphs and canals, was their next refuge, its markets famed for damask and its scholars for algebra and verse. Mei Ling dreamed of its golden domes, but the Tigris plains were perilous. Floods turned paths to mire, and bandits, emboldened by Bahram's coin, struck at dusk. Kavaz, his beard graying, drilled the caravan daily, the monks' staffs a blur, the guards' bows taut. "Bahram's closing in," he told Mei Ling, his voice rough. She proposed splitting the silk across multiple camels to lessen the loss if attacked. Kavan nodded, and Mei Ling redistributed the bales, her hands steady despite the weight of fear. One dawn, as the caravan forded a shallow stream, disaster struck. Nomads, their faces veiled, charged from the reeds, their scimitars flashing. Mei Ling, gripping her staff, stood with Shen as Kavad formed a defensive line. The monks fought like whirlwinds, their chants rising above the clash, while Kavad's arrows felled riders. Mei Ling deflected a blade, her arm aching, but a nomad's torch grazed a silk bale, singeing its edge. Shen doused the flame, and the nomads fled, driven by the monk's fury. The cost was grim, a horse lamed, a guard's shoulder slashed, and the singed silk a wound to Mei Ling's heart. She bandaged the bale, whispering, "For Chang'an." Baghdad's walls rose like a fortress, its minarets piercing the haze. The city was a kaleidoscope. Arab traders haggled beside Greek physicians, while poets recited under palm trees. Mei Ling, entering the bazaar with her lotus silk, felt her purpose burn. An Abbasid merchant, Fatima, offered gold and a pearl comb for the bolt. Her eyes warm but sharp. "Silk could grace a caliph's court," she said. Mei Ling bartered for a fair price in a brass astrolabe. Its dials a map of the stars. Its dials a map of the stars. She sketched a new pattern in her journal, rivers under moonlight, inspired by the Tigris, vowing to weave it one day. But Baghdad was a crucible of intrigue. Bahram's men slunk through the souks, their daggers marked with his crest. Mei Ling spotted one trailing her, his shadow long in the lamplight. She warned Kaveh, who fortified the caravanserai. But a new threat loomed. A local vizier, Hassan, demanded a tax on the silk, his smile cold as steel. Kaveh refused, but Hassan's guards patrolled the streets, their spears gleaming. Mei Ling, sensing Bahram's influence, slipped into Baghdad's coffee houses, listening to whispers. She learned Hassan was Bahram's pawn, planning to seize the silk during a staged inspection. Mei Ling shared her findings with Kaveh, who cursed their luck. A vizier's power is absolute, he said. She proposed a bold deception: offer Hassan a decoy bale filled with linen, while smuggling the silk to a trusted ally's warehouse. Shen backed her, citing a Buddhist tale: a shadow may fool the hunter. Mei Ling enlisted Fatima, who hid the silk in her cellar, while she and Shen crafted the decoy, dyeing linen to mimic silk. Mei Ling delivered it to Hassan, her voice trembling with feigned submission. This is our finest. Hassan, smug, accepted, and the caravan prepared to slip out at midnight. But the plan unraveled. Hassan's guards, tipped by a spy, raided Fatima's warehouse, seizing half the silk. Mei Ling, devastated, blamed herself, but Fatima revealed a secret. She'd hidden the rest in a second cellar. You're not alone, Fatima said, her pearl comb glinting. Mei Ling rallied the caravan, and they fled Baghdad under cover of night, the monks guarding the remaining silk. Bahram's nomads attacked at dawn, a swarm of hooves and blades, but the monks' staffs and Kaveh's arrows held them off. Mei Ling, swinging her staff, saw Bahram himself, his eyes burning with rage, before he vanished into the dust. In Baghdad, Mei Ling visited a mosque, its tiles shimmering like her dreams. Fatima found her there, offering dates and wisdom. The Silk Road is a river of loss and gain, she said. Flow with it. Mei Ling nodded, her phoenix sketch aflame in her heart. She bartered for fresh camels and a river map, preparing for Damascus. Her journal grew with a new pattern: pearls under starlight, a nod to Fatima's comb. But the loss of half her silk stung, and Bahram's pursuit was a tie. The Silk Road, a path of glory, was a crucible, and Mei Ling's dream hung by a thread. The road to Antioch wound through the Syrian hills, where olive groves shimmered and the Eurontes River sang of journey's end. Mei Ling, 10 months from Chang'an, was a tapestry of the Silk Road, her hands scarred, her heart woven with loss and triumph. Kaveh's caravan, battered but unbroken, carried the remaining silk, a fragile thread of her family's dream. Bahram's nomads, though bloodied, pursued with feral hunger, their tracks a shadow on the horizon. Mei Ling, her turquoise pendant warm with memory, rode beside Shen, her journal a saga of survival: pearls, phoenixes, rivers, each sketch a vow fulfilled as Antioch's gates loomed. Antioch, the city of marble and mosaics, was the Silk Road's western crown, its markets pulsing with Roman gold and Levantine spices. Mei Ling dreamed of her silk adorning its patricians, but the Syrian hills were a final gauntlet. Bandits, spurred by Bahram's coin, haunted the passes, and Kaveh's scouts reported ambushes. This is his last chance, Kaveh told Mei Ling, his eyes hollow. She proposed a decoy caravan, using empty bales to lure Bahram, while the silk took a hidden trail. Kavaz nodded, and Mei Ling sewed coarse covers for the decoys, her needle flashing with purpose. One dusk, as the caravan skirted a gorge, Biranj, Bahram struck. Nomads swarmed the decoy group, their cries echoing off cliffs. Mei Ling, with the silk on the hidden trail, heard the clash, her heart torn. Shen's chants steadied her, and the monks guarded the bales, their staffs ready. The decoy held Kaveh as archers and guards repelled the nomads. But a monk fell, his blood staining the dust. Mei Ling, reaching a ridge, saw Bahram himself, his sword raised. Before he fled, his ambush thwarted. The cost was heavy. 2 guards wounded, a horse lost. Mei Ling clutched her pendant, whispering, "For Chang'an." Antioch's walls gleamed, its towers crowned with crosses and crescents. The city was a symphony. Greek traders bartered beside Roman senators, while Syrian poets sang of love and war. Mei Ling, entering the agora with her lotus silk, felt her dream ignite. Roman merchant Lucius offered ore and a sapphire brooch for the bolt, his voice polished but warm. "This silk will drape Caesar's court," he said. Mei Ling bartered for a fair price and a parchment scroll, its verses Greek, a treasure for her journal. She sketched a final pattern, olives under starlight, a nod to Antioch's groves, her weaver's heart complete. But Antioch was no haven. Bahram's men slunk through the alleys, their daggers marked with his crest. Mei Ling spotted one in the agora, his eyes locked on her. She warned Kaveh, who fortified their inn. But Bahram's endgame unfolded. A Syrian official, Gaius, demanded the silk as a gift for Rome, his smile ablaze. Mei Ling, sensing Bahram's hand, slipped into Antioch's taverns, hearing whispers of Gaius's pact with Bahram to seize the cargo. She shared this with Kaveh, who raged. "We've come too far," he said. Mei Ling proposed a final ruse. Offer Gaius a single bale, laced with a rumor that the caravan was cursed, while smuggling the rest to Lucius's ship. Shen backed her, citing a Buddhist truth: wisdom turns the hunter's trap. Mei Ling enlisted Lucius, who hid the silk in his warehouse, while she crafted a cursed tale, whispering of plague-touched silk in the agora. Gaius, superstitious, accepted the single bale and backed off. But Bahram, undeterred, planned a final strike. Mei Ling learned his men would attack the docks at midnight. She and Kaveh set a trap, load decoy bales onto a ship, luring Bahram's men, while the silk sailed on another. At midnight, Bahram's nomads stormed the docks, finding only monks' staffs and Kaveh's arrows. Mei Ling, aboard the true ship, saw Bahram's silhouette, his roar lost to the waves. The ship sailed for Rome, but Mei Ling's journey ended in Antioch. She stood in a basilica, its mosaics glowing like her silk. Lucius found her, offering wine and praise. "The Silk Road is yours," he said. "What now?" Mei Ling smiled, her phoenix sketch alive in her mind. She would return to Chang'an, her silk a legend, her journal a map of the world. Bahram's fate was unknown, But his shadow no longer held her. She sketched her final pattern, a lotus over waves, a bridge from east to west. The Silk Road, a path of dreams and blood, had made her its own.